EU plotting total domination, Brussels moves to take control of wages from member states. European Union MEPs are set to vote on handing more power over wages and social security standards of workers in Europe, according to a new report. The report, by Italian left-winger Laura Agea, says the laws already exist for the European Union, EU, to take control over something which national governments have previously assumed is solely their competence. The EU's Committee on Employment and Social Affairs stops short of guaranteeing a minimum wage, but so-called minimum income schemes would inevitably mean handing more powers to Brussels bureaucrats in being able to determine wages and social security programs. If introduced, the scheme will guarantee a minimum level of income to all citizens. Even if the EU Parliament votes for such a move, it has no legislative power and can only make advisory proposals. Member states can still veto such a move. Also buried in the report is an attempt to extend the tentacles of the EU into other areas that could be of concern for national sovereignty. Along with an attempt to ensure an income that is above the poverty line, the report says that these moves should be accompanied by the provision of public services such as health, education and childcare. Such a move could give Brussels an open door to start dictating over a country's domestic policies and start to impose rules and regulations. The proposal would also bring an end to contributions-based payments where people have to pay in before they can receive any benefit. The report says there is a need to create a European minimum income framework and states that Europe should make every possible effort to try to achieve the goals of the Europe 2020 strategy, which establishes, as a fundamental target, that of enabling people living in poverty and social exclusion to be lifted out of that state. It reads, to date this goal can essentially be achieved through active labor market, training and support policies for individuals in any area in which they are involved. New jobs can be created by focusing on those sectors which, as we know today, are the most suitable for substantial investment, such as the circular economy, the green economy and the social economy, ensuring that skills are updated and those already acquired are enhanced. A further basic request put forward by this report is to use relevant common indicators that can ensure economic and social cohesion and reduce the risk of different pay levels for the same activities. The minimum income scheme should be coupled with a strategic approach aiming at social integration. To that end, it is recommended that effective social protection measures regarding parts of people's lives such as the guarantee of housing, health care, education and training, should be adopted in parallel with the implementation of the minimum income scheme. Any move is likely to be met with strong resistance from some of the East European members of the EU who have so far resisted attempts at closer integration with the likes of the right-wing leader of Hungary, Viktor Orban, expected to strongly oppose such a move. The EU Parliament vote is likely to be backed by the more integrationist countries such as France and Germany who, under Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, are pushing for greater integration. Jane Aid, director of the campaign group Get Britain Out, told Express.co.uk, "This is a naked power grab by the EU, stripping even more control over the welfare and work systems of EU member states. The EU is recklessly ignoring the differences between countries. A livable minimum income in Germany would be very high in Bulgaria, and these changes would have devastating effects for poorer European countries. Worse still, approving this report would dismantle contributory systems, so what you pay in would have no relation to what you get back, a recipe for ingratitude and indolence, and would prove a disservice to those who've paid into their national systems." It may all sound good in some remote bureaucrat's head, but in practice it would be devastating. Seizing on such important policy areas is also a brazen assault on national sovereignty, part of the one-way ratchet towards an EU federal superstate. If we were staying inside the EU, we too would be on track to lose control over this vital area. Thank goodness the UK voted to leave. Taking welfare and work policies out of democratic control, and subjecting them to the Brussels machine, just shows the EU still thinks it can get away with anything. This will only prove to the free peoples of Europe they cannot keep their freedom in the confines of the EU. Such arrogant power grabs are causing Eurosceptics to rise across the continent. Get Britain Out hopes other countries will join us in walking out while they still can. Brexit expert Trixie Sanderson said, "The idea of a minimum income scheme is the kind of thing that a country does, and the fact that MEPs will inevitably be supporting this idea means they view the future as a country called Europe. Whilst we voted to leave, the current arrangements still tie us in financially with these kinds of projects, and what people haven't yet seen from this government is that determination to secure a good deal or no deal with the EU which ensures that the British taxpayer is not financially burdened by the federalist hopes and dreams of MEPs and people like Juncker."